Hello and welcome to Health Professional Radio. I'm your host, Neal Howard. Thank you so much for joining us today. Our guest in studio is returning to have another conversation with us, Mr. Brian Moore Ward, a Boston area man living with MS. As I say, living with, not suffering from, living with MS and still enjoying and pursuing his passions that include hiking and even hot air ballooning. He's launched an initiative called #MySupportHero in conjunction with Biogen and MS World. He's in studio with us, returning to talk about multiple sclerosis and some of the misconceptions that have been built around this disease. Good afternoon, Brian.
Hey, good afternoon. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for returning to Health Professional Radio with us. You know, in other segments when you were here, we talked about your diagnosis of MS at a very, very crucial time in your life. You had just gotten married. You're about to turn the big 3-0, and you're hit with this diagnosis after thinking that you had, carpal tunnel syndrome, which is by far a little. It's not that big a deal when in comparison. Many people didn't take a second look until maybe one of their favorite celebrities was diagnosed, or an athlete or something like that. How do you get carpal tunnel syndrome from MS? How did that happen?
Well, the symptoms of MS can be so common to other things that when I initially was diagnosed with carpal tunnel, it made sense at the time because of the issues that I was having. It was only really the first symptom I was experiencing at the time. So when they gave me an anti-inflammatory for the carpal tunnel, it actually helps, and it slowly helps me regain feeling in the arm. So what I do hear a lot of times, it can be missed from other MS people I've talked to, that there can be misdiagnoses are common just due to the symptoms can be so similar to other ones as well.
When you went in for the problem, obviously not knowing, what you had, and you're thinking, well, it's not killing me or anything, but I just, if I had my druthers, I'd rather not have it. Were you relieved that it wasn't something worse? You find out you've got cancer. It's like, oh my God. You find out you've got gout. It's like, okay, I can deal with that. You know what I mean?
So when I got the diagnosis of multiple sclerosis, my initial reaction was I actually broke down and cried, because it was somewhat of a relief to finally know what it was, because I had such strange issues that were going on, with the numbness in the legs and the arms, and then, I lost sight in my right eye. So it was good to actually have a concrete name to what was going on, but it was incredibly, incredibly overwhelming. Very emotional, overwhelming. I didn't know what to expect. So it was definitely, I was glad to know what it was, and it was, I knew it wasn't something that was going to kill me. It could definitely have an effect on me for the rest of my life. But it was, like you said, it was somewhat of a relief, but then there was an overwhelming, oh my God, a scare, and, like what to do next. Sometimes
diseases carry a stigma with them. Is there anything like that you've found in your experience that is attached with multiple sclerosis?
Well, I think, like you said, I didn't, after finding out a little bit more about the disease, I guess there was more relief. Cancer. I've had so many friends that actually passed from cancer, and I saw them suffer horribly. So I think in some aspect, I hate to say you're happy with the diagnosis like this, but I knew after a certain moment in time it was something that I could, control and be positive about and try to update. A little kid just ran by me. But that's his life. So, I definitely was glad it was something I knew I could control to a certain aspect. But yeah, there's definitely, you get scared about any type of that stuff when, you initially get sick and trying to figure things out.
Have you noticed people, I guess, walking on eggshells when they're around you, not struggling for things to say, because, nobody wants, oh, bless your heart. Some people have a hard time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I get it. Even, living with this for almost, 10 years, I get it every day. You look great. How are you feeling? Even if I'm in a bad mood or something, people immediately think it's MS.
Yeah.
Which sometimes it can be, but sometimes it's not. But I get that constantly. It's a constant, oh, you look great. You look good. And though I look good, as I was mentioning previously on an earlier segment, even though I might look good on the outside, it doesn't mean my nerves on the inside are going crazy. And that's the thing, you kind of have to educate people and let them know, I might look okay, but there's times that I'm not doing okay on the inside. It's one of those diseases that the number one thing I get the majority of the time is, you look great. And to me, is that just because I look good on the outside doesn't mean, obviously MS is causing havoc on the inside.
So, with like any other disease, I guess the first thing that you want to be able to do is identify the person as they're walking towards you. I mean, it's a defense mechanism. What's going on? This person is, this person has horns coming out of their head. That's not right. I need to step back a few feet, but still people look at you and think, well, you don't look disfigured at all. How is that possible? You have multiple sclerosis. You're supposed to be this way or that way, or I heard this, how do you go about dispelling some of the misconceptions about MS?
Right. Absolutely. No, that's a huge thing. It's difficult at times to know how to address it and because like you said, with your cancer, I think sometimes people, as a defense mechanism or a way to make someone feel better, they might try to diminish it a little bit so you don't feel as bad about it. I found that, like, they might say, oh, but you look great, even though your arm's numb. So I think the best way is to try to educate them, and I give them resources like, oh, why don't you go here and read a little bit more about it? I'll give you more information about what I'm going through. I think education is the best way, or even giving them some examples of, like, I have a friend who has MS that uses a cane, and visibly something's wrong with them because they limp and they have a cane. You see me walking by, I run, I hot air balloon, I hike. So when you see me, you don't really see that. So it's something that you kind of, especially to your close friends and family, have to make sure they understand. But it's something that comes up all the time, and it's, I think, educating people and trying to get not aggravated by them is easier than, getting upset about it. But like you said, I think at times people don't mean to diminish it, but they do it to make you maybe feel better. That, like, how they said, oh, you didn't have the real case. I think it's trying to make you feel better. I don't think anyone is initially trying to make me or you feel bad about it.
You living with the MS and your husband living with the MS, within you, not within him. When he observes someone, drowning in this misconception or a stereotypical MS statement that they're about to make, is he more apt to, as you are, to try and educate, or, I guess for lack of a better term, punish for an infraction when it comes to his spouse?
Well, I think, he's the one that probably knows a lot more about MS than I do, because he's at the forefront and doing all the research. And the good thing about him, he's reached out to other caregivers and other MS patients, and he has a good network of users that he gets support from as well, too. And he's, goes to chat rooms, and he'll help dispel those bad rumors about the disease, and, how people can come up to conclusions without really knowing research about it. But he's definitely gathered his own little group of MS folks that he will refer to and talk to about it. So he's really good about knowing the ins and outs and a lot of the information about the disease, which is wonderful, because with someone living with it, it's a little bit more overwhelming for me to read all about it all the time. So I'll throw it to him and let him handle that and help him, get people the right information or give them the correct information they need about it.
Now, as we wrap up, you are in the Boston area. Your husband's there with you. What about your immediate family? Are they close by, or are we talking about long distance support? And is that part of the reason why you launched this social media based initiative?
No, I'm actually very lucky because my immediate family is right here in Boston. I'm the youngest of 5 children, so they're all right here. My brothers and sisters are incredibly supportive. My in-laws are right here as well, too. And then my close friends. So I'm actually very lucky they're right here. I think the initiative, hashtag My Support Hero, Biogen and MS World, really wanted to, because of MS Awareness Month, get these caregivers and people that help MS patients the thanks and the support they need. I think a lot of MS patients, they have, their people directly that help them. And this is a way for them to thank those people. I think like I said, I'm lucky because all of my immediate support is right here, but it can be difficult for someone that is not living, close by to family or friends. And it's a way for them to also thank those people that they might be calling them and helping them through emails or however. But the initiative is a way for those MS people to actually thank their support heroes as well.
Right. Yeah, and living with MS and enjoying life, doing all the things that you love, that's important. Quality of life, no matter what. Yeah.
Yes.
You've been listening to Health Professional Radio. I'm your host, Neal Howard. Thank you so much for joining us today. We've been in studio talking with Brian Moore Ward, diagnosed with MS just before his 30th birthday and just 6 months into a brand new marriage. I mean, we talk about life changing, but he continues to pursue his passions, hiking, hot air ballooning, and all of this with the support of his husband, Charlie, as well as support of his healthcare team. It's been great having you here with us today, Brian.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Transcripts and audio of this program are available at healthprofessionalradio.com.au and also at hpr.fm. And you can subscribe to our podcast on iTunes.